Minutes because I'm a pastor.
Oh.
Pastor,
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you for the good luck. Again, I'm Manny Lardizawa, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor for the state of New Mexico. I've been a pastor for the last 20 years. My wife and I, my beautiful wife right here, we've been overseeing Transformation Ministries International for the past 20 years, but we're also business owners for the last 23 years. We own several different businesses. We're also private investors. We invest into small businesses. I believe in the small business community, really backing small business because I really believe that that's a key backbone of the state of New Mexico. Very quickly, I was born in Silver City, New Mexico. How many of y'all know where Silver City, Grant County, little small town, but raised in a smaller little village called Santa Clara today. Back when I was growing up, was Central New Mexico. So I'm very familiar with the small community, have a lot of relationships and friends in the small community, but currently we live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We've been living there for the last little over 12 years now. And so I have some experience also with the Metro. We have some great candidates running for governor, great candidates. But I really want to put some emphasis on this because we're collecting signatures right now. We got to collect 2,351 signatures. If a candidate like me, Lieutenant Governor, does not get enough signatures, there is no ticket. There is no general ticket for governor. I really want to put that stressful. When we ask for signatures or scan the code, it gets us on the ballot. You're not voting for me, but it gets Republican candidates on the ballot. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's very, very important. We're about at 1,700 signatures. But one thing we're finding out with paper on the signatures itself, we're going through the verification right now because we got more signatures on paper than what we do electronically. And a lot of those signatures are not getting verified because not an E, an I, it's hard to get addresses and all that. So everything's changed to digital, advanced. This is the quickest and easiest way by scanning this QR code with your phone and actually signing the petition that way. We are like 3 weeks out, 3.5 weeks out, to be able to get that. Again, I'm putting emphasis on that because it's very important that we do. There's two of us running. We're both looking for signatures. Again, back to me. I'm a family man. We've been married over 27 years. We got our kids. Our kids are business owners too. We believe in train a child up in the way they should go, and you'll see the fruit. So the fruit from myself and my wife, not only in ministry, one thing that pastoring the church has taught me is how to serve, is how to be a servant. And as a lieutenant governor, that's what a lieutenant governor does. He serves first the community, the citizens of the state of New Mexico. He's an ombudsman for the citizens of New Mexico. That's what he does. He reports to the governor, works in his. What I found very unique about running for lieutenant governor is the only position that functions in two different offices. In the executive branch, part of the governor's cabinet, and then in the legislative branch as president of the Senate floor. And a lot of people miss this part. The importance of being able to be in both and in the legislative as a president of the Senate floor. As president of the Senate floor, people ask me, well, what kind of experience do you have? Well, what candidate actually has experience being a lieutenant governor? But I can tell you this, being a business owner for 4 years and being part of a core group of investors, private investors, I've conducted quorum meetings, which is very important, having the minimum that's required to make sure that it is an official business. Things are conducted. There's 42 senators in the state of New Mexico. You need a minimum of 22 present. 22 present. I understand the format and the formality of the chambers. I've been studying for 2.5 years. When the Lord called me, I'm going to tell you this, it's an assignment by God. I did not want to run. We're business owners, we got our family, I've got ministry, but the Lord called me to this, so it's an assignment by the Lord. And that's the only reason why I'm running, because I have a passion and a love for the state of New Mexico, not only the people, but the land itself. The land itself. And so it being an assignment from the Lord, I take it very personally, and everything I do is to honor Him. I represent Him. And that's the way I'm going to conduct and perform as a lieutenant governor. I fear the Lord more than I fear man. Amen. All right? I'm a man of faith. My wife's a a woman of faith, my children, and the people around me, and I believe, you know what was so awesome is we drove in yesterday. I was looking at the agriculture, the dairy farms and everything, but there's this rustic cross with the 10 Commandments.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know where that's at? When you first come on, those of y'all that you probably know it. Me and my wife would be like, oh my gosh, we gotta take a picture of that. It excited me. It excited me because we need God back up in Santa Fe. We need his voice. We need representation that's with integrity and honesty. I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. But I can tell you this, because I honor him, I can tell you today that I will do with integrity, transparency. I'm excited actually to be able to work with whoever gets elected governor, because I know how to serve. Again, being a pastor, you learn how to serve. You serve people that like you and don't like you. I can tell you this. You know, I had somebody ask me this question. He said, well, gets me emotional. You know, you being a pastor, would you be able to, whether they're Democrat, Independent, Republican, Libertarian, would you be able to? And I looked at them, and it was from a Christian. And I said, yes, I would. As a pastor, I do not ask people if you're Republican, Libertarian, Democrat. If you're asking for prayer, if you're looking for an answer, if you're looking for a solution, I'm here. That's what I do. I'm here to serve you. I will find the answer. I'll pray for you. I'll encourage you. I'll lift you up. That's who I am. That's where I function from. And so I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to speak. And that's just a brief of who I am. And I hope I'm giving the opportunity to be able to represent you as Lieutenant Governor up in Santa Fe. Thank you and God bless.
Are there any questions for Manny? Anybody? Go ahead, you.
Having grown up in Silver City, rural, small town in Clovis, New Mexico, how would you make sure that other places like that across eastern New Mexico are represented in Santa Fe when it comes to legislation?
You know what's so awesome about traveling throughout the state and coming into small communities like this is the hardworking people, the unity in the small communities, and I've seen that. And up in Santa Fe, again, being born and raised in small communities, I see the tight knit. Being in the metro area, I see how it's totally different. It's a different mindset. And the mindset of me growing up in the small communities, I understand how the mindset is, what works, how people think, how they move, what motivates them. In the metro area, it's a whole different mindset and it's a whole different motivation. It's a different system, if you want to call it. And so being familiar with all that, I really feel that when it comes down to agriculture, the dairy farming, the oils down in Carlsbad, when I was down there, hops, understanding how important the small town communities are and how they're the backbone, and people miss that. And because I grew up there, I know how it feels. I know how it feels to lack and struggle, but just to hear the people, the relationships, getting close to people. You know, everything's new. Again, everything's QR code, right? Pay, get it, go. I've been boots on the ground. We got almost 1,600 signatures on paper, because I really felt that was the old school way. I'm being told. This is, you need to go new school. But you know what I've learned doing that? Communication, relationship, being able to talk to people. What's the struggles? So that's what I've learned in small communities, and I have a passion and a heart for the people communities like this.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Michael Perry, running for Commissioner of Public Lands.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for inviting us to come and speak at this event. As you know, across the state, there's about 20 of these today, right? So we had to pick this one. It was tough for me because I'll tell you a little personal story. I I grew up not liking Clovis. I really grew up not liking Clovis, and I'll tell you why. I played football in Roswell High. I don't appreciate you laughing about that either. We got you a couple of times, but, and I told this story a couple of times as a starting quarterback for Roswell High. We did get a couple of chase championships. We got you a couple of times, but I think I was 38-4 as a starting quarterback. And 3 of the 4 losses were to Clovis. So, sorry I don't like you a lot, but I love you now today. So, in order of cities that I didn't like growing up, it was, I didn't like Goddard, because they were in the same town as us, right? Artesia, you can't like a Bulldog, that's just where I was from, and then the third was Clovis, because they kept beating me. So, anyway, that's a little story about me growing up, and how I love Clovis now is because I really need you guys' support. And a little bit about who I am. Again, Michael Perry, running for State Land Commissioner. I was a district officer and game warden for 22 years, and I was a district supervisor over Clovis. Absolutely love that job. I worked 22 years for him and don't feel like I ever worked a day in my life. For about 18 years of that till I went to Santa Fe, and that was a little tougher. That felt like work. That wasn't fun anymore, but from working at the Department of Game and Fish, I switched over, and I'm gonna keep this a little shorter because I know we've got other folks that probably wanna hear more from them than me, but I jumped over to the Assistant Commissioner of Public Lands, or the State Land Commissioner. I was the assistant over the Field Division. And over the Field Division, I was over all the agricultural leases, restoration, and remediation, and pretty much the habitat management across the state. And I did the lease between the Game and Fish, because I was a Game and Fish officer, and the State Land Office for 4 times before it's in its current form. And I very much enjoyed doing that. I was president of the New Mexico Conservation Officers Association. I topped out at the Department of Game and Fish's major southern field operations over the whole south end of the state. And then ironically, the way state government works, when I was a major of southern field operation, I think I supervised 100 on paper, and I was in charge of the whole south half of the state. Then I got a 26% raise to go to the Assistant State Land Commissioner. Cut that down to about 40 people that I had to supervise, and I thought, well, this is a great deal for me. I mean, how can I not do that, right? It was fun. The funny thing about working for the State Land Office is that was the first time in my career I actually used my degree in wildlife management. As a game warden for 22 years, things were kind of taken out and compartmentalized, but when I went back to the State Land Office, I really got to use my degree and touch that resource to really work on habitat management and restoration and remediation, and trying to take care of some of the grazing lessees by doing some large-scale mesquite sprays. We really started to take care of our house, and I really appreciate that, because at that time we got a bill passed that was called the Restoration and Remediation, and it's $1 million fund that goes back to the State Land Office to work on habitat restoration. And that was a great project, and they're still doing that. And they're not doing it as good as when I was there, but they're trying, right? I'm gonna get back there and hopefully do some of those things. So that's a little bit about who I was and who I am, and I'm gonna let my wife talk about how we're gonna get there, because she's my rock and she's the one that's been running this campaign so far, and I don't want to steal her thunder, because I know you guys would probably rather look at her than me, but I'll let her talk to you about that. Currently, I'm a commissioner for the Chaves County Commission. I am the vice chair. I'm in my 4th year now. I'm not gonna run for another term because I felt like this was the right thing to do right now. I think my resume fits for the State Land Commissioner position better than anyone that's ever applied and tried to have the job. And I feel very blessed about that. To back up a little bit, about a year and a half ago, I was at a political function, and a gentleman approached me and said, "You really need to start thinking about running for State Land Commissioner." And I said, "Well, why would I do that? I mean, I just got out of state government. I have my own little private business. We travel a little bit. We got a weenie dog that we like to take on walks. I mean, we're kind of getting into this retirement thing a little bit." And he said, "Well, I think we need you. I think we need you. And I think once you get out there with your resume, I don't think anybody's going to want to run against you on the primary side." And it really made me feel good. But then I thought, well, this guy's just trying to grease me up a little bit. But as we talked more about it, he said, if you really look at your resume, you're a guy that can win it because you have so much restoration and remediation, wildlife management, working with the public, you know, people all over the state, because you were game warden all over the state. I think you can win over some of the independents and moderate Democrats in this state. So we thought about it, and they're not wrong. I mean, we all think we're the best candidate, right? But the folks that talked me into doing this were the independent petroleum producers, and they've been giving me a lot of support. And realize in this state, it's a multi-billion-dollar, oil and gas is multi-billion-dollar. 2.6 billion brought to the state land office, or brought to education last year. When I was assistant commissioner, it was 585 million, so it's really gone up 5 times. And that's really a product of just the business right now and the extraction and the efficiencies, and we've gotten a lot better at that. The interesting thing is the 2.6 billion that's brought in, that goes directly to the schools. Let me back up a little bit. 9 years ago, when I was assistant commissioner, it was 585 million. 50% of the production of oil and gas came from state land, and 50% of the production came from BLM land. Now, we get 20, now 25% of the extraction on state land. Under the drill baby drill methodology and less paperwork, that has went to 70% in today's time of the production going to BLM and 30% on state. So even though we're making a lot more money, we missed out on that 20% because the state land office is so tenuous and working with landowners, grazing lessees, and everybody else, that business mindset has migrated over to the federal government's property, and they're actually having to pay a less royalty. They're paying a 14% royalty. Now, the BLM actually has to kick us back 40% of that 14. So we're losing money now under this current administration of the state land office because we've lost that 20% production. So that 2.6 billion could very well be into 3 billion plus, right? So that's very, very important to us. And we need to get that back. Now, our legislators can fight over where the money goes and where it gets spent on the education and so forth, and that's what they're here to do. But the job of the state land commissioner is to make money for the school children and the beneficiaries, which is the schools, and then to take care of the landscape for the rest of the folks and future generations. They can flower it up as much as you want, but those are the 2 things that you're supposed to do. And I promise you, I'm the best candidate that they've ever had to do a restoration or remediation, get people back into the forest, get people back on state land, get people hunting and fishing and doing those things that we're all supposed to do. I absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on the 9 million acres of state land. I just can't wait. And I'm very, very happy to be here, and I very, very much want your support. And I know these other candidates probably need a little more time, because right now, I still am the only candidate on the state, for the state land commissioner on the Republican side. And I'm fortunate, I know I'm fortunate, and I'm blessed. And it's a good thing, and it's a good thing for us. It's really a good thing for us. So I'm gonna need your support. I always talk about who am I, where do I wanna be, and how I'm gonna get there. And how I'm gonna get there is gonna be discussed by this beautiful woman right here that happens to be my wife of 30 years come Monday. 30 years come Monday.
So, my name is Kim Perry. As you said, we've been married for 30 years. We have one son, Colton, who lives in Hawaii. He moved away from New Mexico, and we hate that. And a lot of his friends have moved away, and we want them to come back. We are both very passionate about New Mexico. This is our home. We do not want to leave here, but if things continue going down the path that they're going, we're afraid that that's where we're gonna end up. I work for Yvette Harrell as our field rep. I work for Senator Pat Boone. I help IPANA with some things. I help NAMOGA with some things. Like I said, I'm very passionate about it. We are not going to sit down and rest until this election. We have been on the road. We probably put close to 20,000 miles on our vehicle so far. We're hooking up our camper come springtime. We plan on just going everywhere that we need to go to get this done. But we definitely need y'all's help. Senator, representative, one of the things that I notice and pay attention to is those electronic signatures are extremely important. And there are dozens of senators and representatives that have not signed the petition. He's unopposed, and we would appreciate your help getting the word out to those guys and getting them to sign those petitions. We do have our signatures. electronically, we only have 2,100 and we need 2,351. We want them all electronically. We do not trust the Secretary of State. So if you guys could help all of these folks get their signatures electronically, that'd be great. Our fundraising is going great. We recently signed on with a consultant, and we have a big fundraising trip coming up in Midland, Dallas, and Houston. And we're hoping that that's all we need, because we don't want to waste our time raising money. We want to use our time building relationships with those folks. So thank you guys.
What year? You didn't even sweat while I was talking.
Yeah, I'm sorry to get acclimated, Johnny. What year? What year?
High school.
What year? Yeah, what was the quarterback?
87, 88, 89.
Okay, I was 85 when we beat Roswell, so.
But you did in 88.
I got a question.
Question.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, you have a question?
Question, go ahead.
Thank you, you never hear me.
I'm sorry.
Like, even when you work for me, you never hear me. Okay, for the person running for land commissioner, in that position, will you have an effect on, and do you have a position on, the increased implementation of wind farms or the deterioration of the wind farm equipment across the state of New Mexico, and especially on public land?
That's a very good question. I don't know how much time I got to talk about it, but.
Repeat her question.
As a county commissioner, that I have
Uh,
part of
Can you restate the question for
Yeah,
everyone
restate
else's
it.
benefit?
We couldn't hear
The question basically was, what's my position on wind farms, correct?
And do you have an effect on that in your position?
Will I have an effect on that on my position? The short answer is, I would have an effect on that, from my position as state land commissioner, only on state land. You can still negotiate with private BLM or whatever, so those go on the land ownership, which is the top, the surface acreage, so yes, I would, and there's a lot here now on state land and I'll talk really briefly about one that's coming up for a new IRB bonding, and this is county commission stuff that, we're going through right now, but. So there's a couple of wind farms. Do I agree with them? I think we all agreed with them back in the day because we thought clean energy was a good deal. I don't agree with it right now on a county perspective because I think we need to renegotiate some of the leases that were performed back in the day with the 20-year leases that are expiring now, and now they're starting to upgrade them. What I don't like is there is a lack of equality in energy royalties, I'll say, in energy royalties. Oil and gas is taxed as a 25% royalty on state land. Wind energy is 3%. Wind energy also has government subsidies. Oil and gas has none. Oil and gas has to pay their bonding the day they want to break dirt or before. Wind energy has up to 6 years. I don't think that's fair. I don't think there's a fairness in what's going on. They're also, wind energies, asking for IRB bonds so they can defer that tax or pay us, the county's payment of the taxes. I think they're making money hand over fist and they're not paying their fair share is what I'm trying to say. And if you want to say Republicans don't pay your share, that's my fighting words to me when you say, you're not paying your fair share. Oh, oil and gas pays their fair share. And I think you and I pay our fair share. There's a lot of people that don't. I think we need to start reevaluating, is that green energy really paying what it's supposed to be paying? Is it taken away? So I'm not gonna say I'm against it, but I really think we need to start looking at the equality of it, because I think they're getting a sweetheart deal right now. Now I'll take it a step further. In Chaves County, we just had, they were taking down a bunch of wind blade fans and they were tearing them up to recycle them in Chaves County. And what ended up happening is they bring these fans in, they found a place where they can lease for 5 acres. It was a company out of Texas that was coming over to New Mexico. They were staying for 3 or 4 days and they were chopping up these windmill blades, putting resin, all this stuff in the air. It's getting in cattle tanks, getting in people's air conditioners because it was right on the edge of town. Just made a mess out of everything, and then they left. We didn't get anything in New Mexico for that. It was a federal government subsidy. Chaves County didn't get any gross receipts tax. They didn't want to stay and make a building or a structure to do what they were doing the right way. They were just coming in to recycle it. And then we found later they don't recycle it at all. They just chop it up into small pieces and throw it in a landfill in Texas. So I don't really appreciate that either. So right now, Roosevelt County and Chavez County are talking about the couple of wind farms that are shared here. And we're talking about redoing some of those leases. But I'll tell you, there's one in southeastern New Mexico that we share with Lee County and Eddy County. And 100% of that energy goes to Phoenix. 100% of that energy goes to Phoenix. And I think what's happened is those big companies that are making money selling energy to California and Texas are coming over here and treating us like we're silly hillbillies and leasing our land out pretty nominally. Because if it was, they can't do it over there, so they're gonna come over here and kind of pick on us. And I don't even want to, we could go on about the interstate corridor for forever. That's very familiar about that, but, so I don't want to say I'm against it, but we need to renegotiate.
The aquifer is critical to Curry County's future. What authority does the land commissioner have to protect water rights and resources on state trust lands? And how would you use that authority here in eastern New Mexico?
Well, the water is very important all over. One thing I can do is I can't say I can create water, but through habitat and restoration, I can make more water on the landscapes, and I've done it on some private projects. I'd love for you to look at my Facebook page and see them. So we can make more water from the landscapes if we're managing them correctly. Okay, so I can show you a million ways how to make more water on the forest and down the river for the farmers, but that's a whole nother idea, and that's the restoration efforts and timber management efforts. But as far as the state land, so the water underneath it, of course, everything in New Mexico is adjudicated, right? Seth could speak on this for hours. But if you're gonna have a water right in New Mexico, the state land office has a little bit of play on that, but typically they're dealing, unless it's a farm or a business lease, it's just for agricultural purposes, and you can get those permits. Where those permits go awry is where you get an agricultural permit for agricultural purposes, like a cattle lease and a windmill, and then you start selling that to oil and gas or a farmer. That's not the intended purpose. So then we have to revisit those things and make sure that it's used for its intended purpose. So they do have some control over it because they own the landscape. And usually if they own the landscape, the wealth to grab the water is going to be located on top of state land, right? So then you have a direct say on it. But the water underneath it sometimes is owned by different proprieties, and Seth could talk about that all day long because he's a professional. So if I really had an in-depth question, I'd call Seth. You know what I'm saying?
Good answer. All right. We're good. Thanks, Michael.
And I don't remember.
You don't remember me? It's a old film. I had a pretty good tackle.
You're a big old boy,
Yeah,
so.
well, I was a little thinner back then, but and a lot faster. Steve Lanier, running for governor. You're up, sir.
Ooh, Steve-O!
Most of you probably have a very fond spot in my heart. I'm also a two.
Oh, we live right there. We live
Yeah,
right
okay. Yeah, I graduated from MMI.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
I
Your
would
10
start with
minutes
some.
start now. There you go. Yeah.
No, thank you guys for inviting us down here. It's very important for us. I got to do some thank yous first. The Woods family, they took us in last night and fed us a steak. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm still full. I didn't even get to eat my burrito back there this morning. And I do want you to remember these elected people in this room, whether it's county commission, whether it's representatives. Michael Perry, we've been traveling. We might as well hook up campaigns and travel together. Manny, because when you sign your name on that piece of paper, it's your name on that piece of paper. It means something to you. So I don't want you to think, they just want to be governor, they just want to be lieutenant governor, they want to be. It's not. It's a decision, and it's a family decision. And you've got to sit down and really process that. And so I want to make sure that we recognize those people, because it is important, and it is stepping up to the plate, and it is a call. I've never actually had a calling until now. This is the first calling I've ever had, Manny. And when God comes to you and says, you're going to run for governor, I'm like, governor of what? What are you talking about? And so, you go through that process, so it is important. I got to do a little football thing here, and then I'll introduce myself. I'm from Aztec High School. I coached football for years, track for years, cross country for years, and Roan House.
That's
Coach Coach Roadhouse and I are good friends, and his son, I actually competed against his son a little bit, but Aztec was small town enough that we didn't have to play you guys. Thank the Lord for that, because that was a program that only Artesia could chase that. So I had to say that part at least. No, I'm Steve Lanier. I'm from Farmington, New Mexico. I'm a small town kid. I grew up on a little farm and a ranch. And Cedar Hill is kind of right up against the Colorado border. So the land stuff, the water stuff, all of that stuff that's my heart. That's where it comes from. And that's the important thing. When you decide to run for governor, you set your wife down and you tell her, I'm going to run for governor. Guys, don't work that way. You set your wife down and you ask if you can run for governor, right? And that's the way it should be. But it's a family deal. I sat with my whole family, and when we talked about it, to decide if I could run for governor. So my wife, I've been married to her for 32 years, or she's been married to me, however you want to do that. And she's the one that sent me down here today. She's a county commissioner from San Juan County. And right before you go into session, it becomes honeydew. Honeydew this, honeydew that, because you're going to be gone for so long. And my honeydew today is to bring our casino back to San Juan County. No, I'm just kidding. She did actually tell me that, but you guys good luck with the racetrack and things like that. We do only have 10 minutes, so we have our cards just like everybody else does. There's a whole list of things. If a candidate tells you they're going to concentrate on 4 things, discount them right away. There are so many things in this state that we need to work on, and it would take 10 minutes to list them all down of the things. So the question really becomes, what are we going to do about it? How important is this election? And I want to explain that to you. And it's every position. Secretary of State, it doesn't matter what it is. Every election is important. So I want you to think about this for a moment. Whoever becomes the governor in this race, the lieutenant governor, the land commissioner in this race, is going to be in charge of the redistricting for the next census, right? Assuming we do the 8 years that normally New Mexico does. And that should soak in for a minute, because that's what's important. I don't know, did you guys get redistricted up here at all? I mean, come on.
Was a big deal.
They're loaded to get us. And so I want you to think about that. It's very important. Don't go to that voting booth because it's the young, good-looking guy. Come on, that was fun. It's not because this guy's been a mayor. It's not because this guy has done this. He's set up a business. He's done all of that. That's not what it's about. You need to really sit and think, who's the best person to run the state of New Mexico? It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. Because if you think for 1 minute that those Democrats over there, they're not gearing up for that redistricting, you're crazy. I mean, we sat at a conference the other day and we listened to what the Democrats have planned. I'm from a red county, you guys are still a red county, but their redistricting plan is to cut us out. So when you go vote, I want you to think about that a little bit. And we can talk about anything that you would like, medical malpractice, whatever it is. But I want to explain to you my soul, what comes out of me. I am an old football coach. And there's no one person that can sit in an office and run the state of New Mexico. You've got to build a team. You can't go in there and appoint your buddy or your ex-girlfriend or whatever it is to help you run the state of New Mexico. We've seen what that's done, haven't we? We've seen on both sides. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat. We've seen it. We've seen it. So that's where my whole staff. When I went out and set up my staff, Michael makes fun of me all the time. My staff is all young people. Because you look around this room here, we don't have that many young people here. Oh, my staff's better looking.
Well, your staff is very good. Sorry, Kitchen.
He has a point.
But I did that for a reason. We need that youth. That is our future. That's what's coming. And so my staff, everybody that I hired is very, very young. I think the oldest staff member I have is 38 years old. He's not here today, and he'd kill me if he knew what I was talking about. But that's a reason. The future is that youth. And we've gotta pull those kids in, and that's our job as Republicans. And that's part of that team building that I'm talking about. You know, I tell people all the time, you need somebody that is willing to take on the state of New Mexico. Because you better have big, broad shoulders. You're gonna have it. Because you're gonna make a lot of people mad. I don't even agree with my wife all the time. Well, she doesn't agree with me anytime, right? So you gotta have that broad shoulder. And as a football coach, 3rd and short, which Miami, oh, what a game. Oh my gosh. Was that not fantastic?
Not for me, it was the anxiety.
Oh, I
almost killed
bet
me.
you lost weight, for sure. But being an old football coach, when it's 3rd and short, half of the stadium loves you, and the other half of the stadium hates you. Right? And when you're in a small town like Aztec, New Mexico, you don't go to the grocery store. I tell people all the time, and you've heard this, Ryan Lane was a good friend of mine. He's one of my old students. I taught for 28 years. I always hate to say that 28 because it makes me feel old. But we always laugh because in our small town, everybody knows us. So when you go to the store, especially as a football coach, you go to the store, you better pick up a jug of ice cream and put it in your cart. That's your excuse to get out of there. Because everybody wants to talk to you. What in the world would you guys think about 4th and 1? Why? That's how coaches get fired. And they're correct. So you always have that ice cream there. So you say, I gotta get this home to Sandra. I'm sorry, I gotta go. And so, it's things like that you gotta think of is when you become governor. People are gonna be mad at you. They're not gonna like what you're saying. Sometimes it's your own family. When I ran for county commission the first time, my dad said, well, are you gonna raise my taxes? And I'm like, no, I'm not planning on it. Well, I'm telling you right now, if you raise my taxes, I'm not voting for you. That's my own dad. Right? So, but in all seriousness, the state has a lot of problems, but we are not a poor state. We're a wealthy state. I'm not gonna pander to Lee County. That's why we're here. We came here. Oil and gas is important to us, and we know that. But we cannot just concentrate on oil and gas, small business, all of those things. Please pick up my card. Same thing, we didn't put our petition out early because I wanted to hear for you to hear me speak before you wanted to sign my petition. And I appreciate it. And just remember one thing, this is our state and it's our future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One question.
Do we have time for a question?
Okay, one question, go ahead.
Okay, I apologize, this is kind of a long format question, but the most prominent question happening right now is fraud, especially in states like Minnesota. Minnesota was ranked 33rd when it came to welfare recipients. New Mexico's ranked number 1. What's your plan for that?
That is the perfect question for me. You could not have, did I plan that with you before?
No, sir, we met today.
Senator Woods and myself, we both sat on Senate Finance. We sat on Judiciary together, and this is a topic that we're all going to take on. That's one of the reasons I got in the race, is because here they put me on Senate Finance, and you see all of these numbers. There's no accountability for it at all. We can't find where that money's going. So when this came out about Minnesota, I was not surprised. Because if you think for 1 minute that that's not going on right here in our state, you've lost your mind. I shouldn't say this, Senator, so don't get mad at me. Our road department, DOT, CYFD, you can go down through the list. And we have very few Republicans on that Senate committee, but I guarantee you that man right there and myself, we fight every single committee meeting to find that corrupt person, where that money's going. And you have to have somebody in the governor's office to find it. And that is going to be one of our top priorities. We will chase that money down. Whether we can do anything about it with the state legislation, we'll work on that. And that's where, relationships come in. You can't go into the house and be all fire and brimstone and think you're gonna get a bill out of there. I don't know if that answers your question, but we are working on some things right now in the Senate to put that in action, because it is here, and we know it is here.
Perfect, thank you.
It might be worse in Minnesota, to be honest with you.
Can I just ask a quick follow-up question on that? I just recently read that, with the free childcare now coming out with our state after seeing everything that happened in Minnesota, I read an article where it said that already 88% of the kids are on the free childcare. Do you guys suspect any of that fraud going on as well in our state?
We know it is. It's kind of, I'm not here to bash the governor, but I do want to touch on that. We already have free childcare. We've had it. Now she's labeling it this universal care. So what that really means to you is us folks that could afford to put our kids in childcare, now we get it for free. They label us as the 1% that, we don't want to pay our fair share. And here they're pushing it on us that we can't. And there is a lot of stuff there. I'm just gonna hit on just a little bit. Keep in mind, I'm a small business type person, and that's what this is gonna do. Because now every university, every high school, everybody sees that money coming in, and they want a piece of the pie. And if I was the president of a small college, I'd be doing the same thing. I really would. But what is it doing to those small businesses? What is it doing to those child cares that have been in business for years? We're pushing them out, and we're making everything the government. We might as well live in New York if we're gonna do that. So, my philosophy, if California's doing it, let's not.
Yeah.
So, all right, anything else?
Yes, sir. You have a comment on the abortion clinic in Las Cruces. What are the chances that she won't get a bill?
Well, we're trying hard to delay it, and I have some builder friends down there, and some of the stories that you're hearing about the concrete plants, that is actually true. That is true.
Can you borrow that money back?
I don't know. I would have to ask. I don't know if we could claw the money back, but we could change what that building's for.
Repurpose.
Repurpose.
We could repurpose the appropriation. It's time limit to spend.
Right. So yeah, that's a very good one, because there's another one coming, you know that, right? Up north. So there's another one coming, so that's a very good one. All right.
Good.
Thank you guys very much, I really appreciate it. And I do have my petition up here if you do want to sign it. Duke Rodriguez? You got tall, dude.
So Duke sends his regards, looks forward to meeting the delegates. So just a little bit about Duke. He's got a very compelling story. He was raised by a single mother in Silver City, went to New Mexico State University, got out and started running the largest healthcare organization in New Mexico, Loveless. Went on to serve under Gary Johnson administration in the Health and Human Services Department, got into the medical cannabis business, and he is now going to run for governor. He's willing to put $2 million of his own money into this campaign. He is, at this point, we have 3 really good candidates, good, solid, conservative candidates to run. We're gonna have to pick the one that you think can win the race. And, I think that it is, I think it's Deuce Rodriguez. And so, we look forward to meeting the rest of you when he can.
Thank you. Duke's running for governor?
Governor.
Yeah, okay. And
One
Duke's
quick-
gonna be here, February 14th at our next meeting.
One quick question. Has Duke commented to you about any plans medicinally since cannabis got rescheduled?
No.
Okay.
No, none of that. And he is pro-life.
Awesome.
All right, how about some legislator updates? Senator Pat Woods, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I'm gonna,
Some for me too, since it's been so many people talking.
well,
You're on my list.
Andy Journey does the better job, and she Journey has her script now, and so Andy, you're allowed to question me as to everything I get wrong.
Okay.
Okay? Because she is certainly far more intelligent than I am, let me tell you.